20 years ago, from since this day on which I am speaking, there was a riot in Los Angeles, sparked by the beating of motorist Rodney King. To be honest, most people don't care anymore, but some still do. This is the Ambassador Hotel. It was located in the Mid-Wilshire district in what is now known as Koreatown. It was the original Beverly Hills. Asians were categorically forbidden entry into America during this period. In 1968, Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated here after his victory in the Democratic presidential primary. It happened in the kitchen pantry, which is now a library. Thereafter, the hotel was abandoned. Once a boulevard of American fantasy, it became an American purgatory of gangs and drugs. This is when many Koreans came to the area, escaping a military dictatorship in their country. But it must be noted, the majority population in this area is Latino. 7 years ago, the ghostly hotel was finally demolished amidst controversy at the cost of $600 million. Risen in its place are 6 schools named the RFK Community Schools. The only remnant of the old hotel is this wall and entrance to the Coconut Grove nightclub. Inside now are students of the Ambassador School of Global Leadership. The school claims to teach its students to be global citizens. But the riots of 1992, which happened on the streets outside, are not in the curriculum. In fairness, the riots are in no curriculum in Los Angeles, except in Jay Davis's classroom. The myth of the most infamous urban revolt in America lives on.
As a teacher here in K-Town, Koreatown, it really weighed on me that I have a responsibility to engage with this. I must. I'm in class with Korean students, some of whom are still very much learning the language, and who, of course, weren't born during the riots. And I'm not going to say anything about this? I mean, what a disservice. There is a big clash between teaching standardized curriculum, test scores, etc., and teaching materials such as the LA riots. The arts is a space to allow for that, and if we can just keep arts in schools, then I think we'll be able to teach on things like the Rodney King situation, like police brutality, like what's going on with Trayvon Martin.
I know it's not police related, but still, like the Trayvon Martin case, you still have situations like that that arise, and those are, even though that's not directly police related, there's still that communication factor that plays a role.
You spoke about it earlier, that it's like you're dealing with things that have been pent up and sort of internalized for so long that it's like just on human interaction, one-on-one, if you have a good friend that you've held a grudge against or you're holding something back, then when you finally get to tell them, like, look, dude, you've kind of been pissing me off lately, you've been doing, how much better do you feel when you get shit off your chest? Something as basic as that. Now, of course, that's a very, small example, but there is sort of, I think that's what the sense of victory for some of the community was at the time, it was like a lot of pent-up stuff that finally surfaced. He and a couple of his friends were organizing groups to kind of help Korean stores that were being attacked, and he went out there. And it turned out it wasn't being attacked, that he was shot by another Korean. He was just always around. I just remember him, joke with him. I got to know as many of the kids as possible who were coming around to help, and he was just smiling all the time and a really good kid.
It honestly looked like the video you'd see of like Beirut, or something like that, where there's all this smoke in the air, fires everywhere.
I'm coming down the Santa Monica Freeway, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, rush hour traffic through downtown LA, and there were 3 other cars on the freeway with me. And we were all going like 90, and we're just blowing down the freeway. And I remember I was driving next to a white guy, and I think it was a BMW. And we're both just blowing down the Santa Monica Freeway together, and I start moving over to get off at Crenshaw. And the guy looks out his window at me like, "Are you insane? You can't get off in Crenshaw? Are you crazy?" And I'm looking at the guy like, "No, I'm cool." Everybody in the hood knows me.
꿈은 나는 지금 군대에 있었으면 아주 높은 사람이 됐을 텐데 높은 사람 못 되고 미국에 왔으니까 그냥 잘 살려고 왔어요. 너무 좋은 걸 많이 봐서 잘 살려고 왔다. 난 뭐 자식들 잘 가르치고 난 이런 건 생각하진 않았어요. 누구는 뭐 자식을 위해서 왔다고 했는데 나는 자식을 위해서 온 게 아니에요. 내가 잘 됨으로써 그건 다 잘 될 거니까. 그래서 왔어요. 근데 잘 나가다가 혼이 났지.
One day, actually, Ice Cube was in the studio. He was in the same facility. So he was like practicing in another studio, like in the same building. And we were trying to meet him and like get our single to him. So we got to meet him. Like I remember very quickly, but this was a time when his song came out, Black Korea, and we told him about, who we were and what we did and kind of our song. And, I doubt he listened to it at all. I mean, we were just kids. I mean, I doubt he cared at all. But we put in a lot of time and effort. Yeah, done a lot of work.
And pretty soon they pulled out their guns and showed us the badges. I said, "Oh boy, we've got it now." But then they threw us into jail, the university jail, and it was terrible. I mean, the front policemen came in. They were mad at us because we had wailed on these guys, and they took their shots at beating on us because we didn't belong in that neighborhood. And then this was in 1941, and there was an anti-Asian hostility building up anyway. We're talking about rights and everything like that. We didn't get our rights.
The unfortunate thing is that the police is the most visible part of city government. And it's the only part of city government that's open 24 hours and actually comes to your doorstep. And often it's the only one that listens to every complaint about government. And so often the things that it gets blamed for are not necessarily on their shoulders, such as education, housing, poverty.
The Alexander clan, we were in Texas. In around 1930s, 40s, we came west. It was mainly for jobs in the aerospace industry. That's the crux of it. It's about self-protection. You go back to right here on Central Avenue, the Black Panther Party. The name was the Black Panther Party for self-protection.
The area, Pasadena changes block by block, but my area is heavily African American, and most of my roommates are African American. And so, yeah, I think I just have a wide array of understanding of culture. I'm going to be moving down to Boyle Heights, which is all Hispanic. So I'm getting the mixture of everything, and I love it. I wouldn't change it, because it actually showed me that I have a culture.
When, say for instance, I go home and talk to my grandma, she's like, "Oh, I've been through this, that, and the other," and I sit there and get all sad because I feel like I've been through it too. But then I'm like, okay, maybe I can change it. Maybe I can do this and, create some type of uprising.
History repeats itself, and we have to learn from our mistakes. If we don't, the same thing's going to happen. The panel made some great comments about the next riot is going to be a class riot. It won't be probably like a race riot, and you see America sort of like dividing in classes because of economic class warfare, and it may just be around the corner. We never know.
Los Angeles Saints. Hollywood, Beverly Hills, American Excess, Worldwide Entertainment.
Hey, I love LA. And the Lakers mean the world.
City of dreams. I say LA, y'all say riot. LA, riot. LA, riot. When I say LA, y'all say riot. LA, riot. LA, riot. When I say CA, y'all say all day. CA, all day. CA, all day. When I say 9-2, y'all say cool. 9-2, cool. Look. I connected a lot. I connected with the spirit of what was going on at that time, and I feel like the LA Rise is the most historical event in Los Angeles history. So, that was my first solo project, my first time stepping out as a solo artist, and we were just able to. I had a lot of fire in my spirit, and I wanted to make music that had a stronger message. And I feel like the Los Angeles Rise, we had to pay homage to that because me and Tomas, we were like 7 years old at that time. So we're like Riot's babies, and being that young at that age, we didn't understand all the social issues that were going on at the time. So going back and doing that research, it was almost like paying homage and setting the foundation for our city and for music, and just trying to always elevate, and for us all to always remember the past and always try to be progressive people and appreciate everyone, no matter what skin color is. And that's the overall message and power behind what we wanted to do. So thank you for your time.
Rise on up, 1992. Learned artist on the LA Revolution. Recorded 7 years ago in 2012. 20 years since the largest ever American revolt. What is the language of the unheard? This began as a self-financed project for those who want to learn and or participate. Join the raw conversations at patreon.com/engine room.